Please help me welcome Curtis Sneden.
Thank you. Didn't John do a good job of getting this thing started? What energy. I should be proud of him. Nice work. My name is Curtis, and I am a mystery performer. I used to call myself a magician, but mystery performers get paid more, so now I'm a mystery performer. My job as a mystery performer is to stand before you and perform what appear to be feats of wonder. Yeah, okay, I can tell some of you are clapping in your minds. That's okay. You should know that from the performer's point of view, that's just as gratifying as the real thing. It's okay. Thank you. Thank you. I mean, meet me halfway here. This is an ancient art. Okay? Thank you. If I were, 5,000 years ago, if I were to stand before you and just pull little red balls out of the air, well, people would have revered me as a god, right? At the very least, they would have offered to pay for my drinks. Has this ever happened to you? I've been performing magic for about 25 years now. And over that time, I've been in a range of different venues and circumstances. Sometimes my program is the center of attention, like it is here, but very often my clients ask me to stroll through the crowd at their annual meeting or a conference they're putting on and perform magic close up for the little groups that have clustered around the room. About 5 years ago, I joined the Chamber of Commerce, and I went to a networking event, and it dawned on me, much to my surprise, that all that time, I hadn't just been performing magic, I've been networking like crazy. I just didn't know I could call it that. So I've actually honed some skills about networking, and today I'd like to share some of what magic has taught me about networking. But I want to take a second to make sure that we're on the same wavelength. Networking, in a way, is a bit of a cliche term. In fact, a gentleman in the food line mentioned something about chambers don't just do networking events anymore, and I think that's a fair observation. I would prefer to think about this as connecting with other people. That is really what we're all about, isn't it? As humans and as business people especially, being able to go out into the world and connect with people is really the key secret to happiness and success. So we'll use the word networking, but let's not get hung up on that as a cliche. Let's remember that we're talking about something quite a bit more majestic. I'm pretty sure that the 3 secrets of networking that we're going to share today will supercharge your ability to connect with people and will put you in a position to very quickly grow a long list of friends who are eager to see you succeed. Sorry about that, Cheryl. Down the front row. Nobody ever sees the streamers coming, Cheryl. I've been watching this group, and I can tell you that you already know a great deal about this thing called networking. This has been a surprisingly energized luncheon, and you may or may not recognize that because you're part of it. But I've been to networking events where usually people just stand around with people they already know and drink wine and eat the cheese and crackers, right? This is not that group. I'm very impressed with what I've seen so far. But let's talk about what magicians think. Well, if there were wine, you would have been drinking. Okay, that's a logistical point. That was last night? Well, hire me for that gig next year, would you? The first secret to networking like a wizard. Know your own stuff. And the first thing you have to be clear-headed about is your purpose. Why did you even come to this event or put yourself in this situation where you're connecting with people? What are you trying to accomplish? Now, when I'm performing magic, I have 2 primary goals. The first one, of course, is to satisfy my clients' needs, but I also have the goal of trying to make sure that I genuinely connect with as many people in that room as possible, so that by the end, at least 4 or 5 of them have been intrigued enough that they'll come up and ask me for my business card. So we can talk later about how I might be able to address their event needs. And surely your goals wouldn't be that different. You want to connect, you want to intrigue, you want to plant the seed that you might represent a solution to their problems, and you want to leave a good impression that you can follow up on. So we know why we're here. The next step is to have your material down cold. And we magicians, we rehearse our routines so often that they become second nature to us. We also know exactly where each of our props is at all times. Oh man, wasn't expecting that. Oh, hey, look at that. That's like Zuzu's pedals, Mayor. I thought I lost those. That was for you. I wasn't a magic trick. I was just a gesture. We also need to understand we need to understand our material deeply enough so that we can shift gears if the circumstances change. And here's what I mean by that. It's not that uncommon for me when I'm performing that strolling kind of magic to start by performing for, one or two people. And then to look up and realize that all of a sudden I'm surrounded by 15 or 20 of them. Or the announcer comes on the PA and he says the dinner is served, and in that case nobody cares whatever happened to the cards in my hands. You have to know your material well enough to be able to go with the flow and not get flustered. And here's a little bit of a magician's tip. This is the sort of secret that most magicians would rather you didn't know. We actually script out almost everything we say. We're trying to create this sense that we're being spontaneous, but the truth is that at least 80% of the things that we say, including the little side jokes, have been carefully thought out ahead of time. Now that's not because we're worried that we won't know what to say or come up with something. It's because it gives us the opportunity in advance to choose the most powerful possible words that will convey the narrative of wonder that we're trying to get across. Magician's script gives them immense power over the narrative. So wouldn't you want that kind of power when you're talking about your business? I mean, you can have it if you take the time to write down what you're planning to say, try it out on a few people, edit it, probably shorten it, and then rehearse it until you can say it in your sleep. And that's a basic magician's secret that you're now in on. You will learn in a little bit that the best people who network don't insist upon reciting their elevator speech every opportunity they get. But having that ready gives you self-confidence. And it makes sure that you're not going to flounder around looking for the right words when your moment arises. Magicians have an interesting word that we use to describe the things that we talk about while we're performing. That word is patter. Ever heard the word magician's patter before? I know Rodney has. Rodney told me when we met that he's a magician too. Did you know that Rodney here is a magician in your own midst? You've heard of magician's patter. You've probably used some. I've never been that fond of this phraseology, magician's patter, because it creates the impression that I'm just prattling along mindlessly while I'm doing my dirty work. This is the Jack of Spades. The Jack of Spades. David, you might have to take my word for it. It is the Jack of Spades. The truth of the matter is that the most skilled magicians choose every word very carefully. Rodney, would you hold your hand out flat, please? Just hold that flat on your palm. And keep your hand out there so that we can see that the entire time. Thank you. Would you please just choose one of those? Thank you. And look at it and remember it. It's okay that you showed me. In this case, it's okay that I saw the card. Would you take that magic marker and across the face of the card, and that's the face with the suit and the numbers on it, would you please write your name in letters so big that they'd be able to see it? Oh, you pushed the top of, did you get it open? Good. Okay. Write your name in big letters, and beneath your name, draw a little picture. You can keep it simple, it's okay. You can make it a star or a smiley face or something, but do something to make it a little bit unique so that I couldn't possibly have foreseen what you were going to draw. Here, I'll take the pen. Would you please blow on the ink so it won't smear? Thank you. And I get to see the card. It is the Ace of Clubs. But this is no ordinary Ace of Clubs now, is it? Now that Janelle has written her name on this card is literally unlike any other object on the face of the earth. I think we can agree there is no possibility that there's another Ace of Clubs anywhere on the planet that looks just like this Ace of Clubs. Now, Janelle, what do you do for a living? I take it you're with the credit union, is that right? You're branch manager for, and where's the branch that you're at? Okay, terrific. Do you know most of these people here? Well, you've come to the right place to meet some new friends. But let me ask you, and do you mind standing up, please? As a branch manager, is it fair for me to assume, I've never been a branch manager myself, but is it fair to assume that you do a lot of talking during your job? Okay. You don't call your talking patter, do you? You don't say a pattern to our customers. Okay, I didn't think so. Hold your hand out, please. Hold your card and then cover it up with your other hand. So I don't know why magicians obsess over this word called pattern. Now, one of my wisest magical teachers actually gave me some very good advice once. He said that the more astonishing your magic is, the less you have to say about it. And, well, the truth is that, frankly, I'm not really sure what we would say about this anyway. I wonder if you would care to go ahead and look at your card now. Hold that up so they can see. Oh, that's the jacket. But, well, Rodney? Okay, Rodney, you and I, we might call this pattern. But my friends, well, you can see too. Even though magicians would call this pattern, Janelle, in some cases, there simply are no words. Thank you, Rodney. You did wonderfully. Networking secret number 2. We know our stuff. Number 2, learn their stuff. That means do your homework. Figure out who's going to be in the room. Figure out if there's going to be a mayor there or a member of the Jackson County Legislature. It's not always possible to do that kind of pre-work, but when it is, it's incumbent upon you to try to figure out who in the room you might want to connect with. It is always possible, though, to approach every conversation with the genuine attitude that you are honestly curious about the person you're talking to. I mean, how many of us know people who seem to think the goal of a conversation is to shove their entire life story down our throats without showing the slightest curiosity for us? You know somebody like that, don't you? There are a fair number of magicians who are like that. And frankly, they're not very good. They're just bores. Real magicians understand that the magic isn't about us. We try to make the magic about the audience. We develop illusions that seem to take place in the spectator's hands, and we work very hard to make the audience members the heroes of the story. And you could do the same thing. And if you do, this could be your secret weapon. The next time you enter into a networking event or you go into a situation where you're looking to connect with people you don't already know, take a second to look around the room and remind yourself that fundamentally, every person in there is mainly worried about themselves. We all are hungry to feel special. We all want to feel like we matter, that we're making it in this thing. That's not a critique. That's human nature. I think you would agree that that's the way we are. But if you and I know that, then why wouldn't we try to feed that hunger by genuinely listening to the other person and paying attention to what makes them special? But this is not a cynical trick to try to fool people into thinking you like them. I mean, a kid would see through that. It's about bringing more positive energy to your interactions. And I can tell you that whatever business you happen to be in, if you make it your job to notice what's special about the people around you, they will be glad they met you and they will want to find ways to work with you. And here's something else the magicians know. There is no more potent tool to make people feel special than to remember their name. The next time you are introduced to somebody, pay attention and remember their name. Call them by name, especially if you run into them later. Right, Garrett? You tracking with me? That was a demonstration of the point I just made. You see, if you think about it, if you call the other person by name, you go up in their estimation because you've made them feel special. Who here hasn't had that experience? You meet somebody briefly, and then a little later on, they call you by name. It makes you feel like you've been noticed, right? Well, why wouldn't we make that something that we try to do all the time? If you want to take home magician's secret, I would suggest that that's it. Take the time to remember the power of a name. Now, Bev, you're in a good mood because you just won $100. I would like you to think of a name. The name of someone you haven't thought of in quite a while. It could be a childhood friend. It could be a relative you haven't heard from in years. You got somebody in mind? Good. Would you please take this piece of paper and write their name on that piece of paper? No, keep it secret. When you're done, thank you for asking, though. That was very polite. Usually people make an assumption that the magician is keeping secrets. No, when you're done with that, fold it up. I don't want to be able to see it. Okay? The reason I'm asking Bev to write that name down is because I want it to become fixed firmly in her mind. And I also want to keep her from changing her mind later to try to make me look silly. You, sir, when you were growing up, did you have pets around the house? Did you have a favorite pet?
Yes, I did.
Would you think of that animal right now?
Yes.
And would you write that animal's name on this piece of paper? And when you're done, would you please go ahead and fold that paper up just like yours. Now, Bev, make sure that paper is folded. Make sure we can't see your handwriting through it, can we? Okay, good. I don't want to touch that. Would you please shove the paper down in the envelope? I'll guide you. There you go. Okay, okay. Now, Bev, this is the awkward part. I need you to stick your tongue out. That was a joke. That was for me, more than you. I just love the reaction I get when I say it. I need you to seal the envelope. And don't lick it. It's got some gummy stuff on it. I was just teasing. Okay, just seal the envelope. That's so much fun for me. And here's your envelope. Now, I need someone, we're going to try this a little bit differently, somebody who's got some artistic ability. And it strikes me that this is our man, Cody. You get to do something a little bit different. You are going to think of any object in the world. Any object at all. It could be, say, something we might have found, we would find in your studio now, or maybe it was something that we would have found in your bedroom when you were a kid. You have the universe as your oyster here.
Okay.
Have you thought of something?
I got something.
Okay, so I'm going to hand you a piece of paper.
Okay.
And you're going to do the same thing. You're going to sketch out that name,
Okay.
and then you're going to fold it up, just like Bev did, and you're going to shove it back down in the envelope. Okay? That's very important. I think I have one more pen left. Use that pen. I lose more pens this way. Okay. There's your setup. I need one last person who is quite possibly the most honest person in the room, the most honest-looking person anyway. John, you strike me as that. John, you have a job. You'll be like the sheriff. Okay?
The sheriff loves me.
The sheriff loves me. Does he know you that well?
Yeah. It's a long story.
Your job is to go around the room and pick up those envelopes from Bev. I didn't ask you your name, sir.
Bob.
Bob. Bev and Bob and Cody. Make sure those envelopes are sealed.
Okay.
And then would you come back up here and you'll wait for me right up here. Bev, will you join me, please? Come on up.
She's gonna get your $100.
I need to borrow a $100 bill. Does anybody have? John, if you would wait right over there, please. Thank you. You're thinking of a name.
Yes.
I'd like you to picture. Please overthink this, Bev. I want you to concentrate on that name. Imagine that name is being projected on a movie screen out here hanging in front of the audience. It's in big letters. Can you see it out there? Bev, I'm going to ask you some questions. I'm going to talk to you. Your job is to ignore me. Pay attention to that name and ignore me. I think you'll be astonished to find that even though you aren't communicating with me verbally, you're actually giving off hundreds of very subtle clues as to what might be going on inside your mind. And to those people who have learned how to decipher those clues, the results can seem almost telepathic. Do you understand? Good. So you're focused on that name. Actually, though, it would be helpful to know, are we talking about a man or a woman? Okay, you're supposed to ignore me. Pay attention to the name. Focus on. Okay, there's a little test. Let's start with the letters in the alphabet. Let's start with B, B, C, B, C, D, E. Actually, there are a lot of letters that end with that E sound if you ever thought of it. B, C, D, E, G. Oh, okay, there you go. That came through. Let's try the vowels. A, E-I, A-E-I-O-U, A, okay. Now there's a big group of letters right in the middle of the alphabet. If you think about it, we usually say it like it's one sound. We say L-M-N-O-P, L-M-N-O-P-Q, L-M-N-O-P-Q. Okay, I think we got it. All right, Bev, would you please hold this up against your heart so that we can't see it? You neither. Hold it against your heart. And if you have an envelope that has the first envelope has a 1 on it. There you go. Thank you, Sheriff. It's still sealed. Oh, that's the way that feels, don't you? So, Bev, when we asked you to think of someone from your past, a name that you haven't heard of in a long time, you thought of Liz. Okay. Is Liz that friend or the Aunt Liz? You can talk to me next, please. Oh, there's always somebody. Who was Liz?
A high school friend.
High school friend. Would you please take a look at what you were communicating to me? Remember Liz. Now, where's my pet owner? Come on up here, Bob. You know the rules.
I do.
You're to focus on this pet's name. You're to imagine, let's pretend it's like emblazoned on a flag up there, like the big sort of flag you see at Sam's, okay? And it's big red, white, blue letters up there, okay? This animal's name is flapping in the wind. You're focused on that. You are ignoring me. Pay no attention. Actually, though, it would be helpful to know, are we talking about a dog or a cat?
Dog.
Okay, you're supposed to pay attention to the... You ignore me. This wasn't very fair, but... Okay. We're focused on it. Okay. B. B, C. B, C, D, E. Okay. Not as sure about that, but... B, C, D, E, G. PTV. PTV. Okay. Let's try to... You're really keeping it in pretty tight there. Let's try the vowels. A-E-I-O-U-R-E-I-O. L-M-N-O-P. L-M-N-O-P-Q. Q-R-S. Q-R-S-T. You know, Bob, what is a man? If the chief good and measure of his time, chief good and measure of his time, there we go, okay, wow, is to eat and sleep. A beast no more. I think I understand. Bob, would you hold that against your heart so that we can't see it? And would you hand me, Sheriff, that second envelope? Yes, sir. So, Bob, we asked you to think of your favorite pet. You said it was a dog, right? Okay, and you thought of Brittany. Brittany, what kind of dog was Brittany?
Brittany's a Cocker Spaniel.
Brittany the Cocker Spaniel. You have fond memories of Brittany?
I do.
Take a look. Now, Sheriff, I know you have enjoyed your duties, but actually, we're going to skip directions here. I won't even actually need this. So you're welcome to take your seat. Thank you. I want to move on to the third and final secret of networking like a wizard. One second. You get it. There's a cadence here, isn't there? So we know our stuff. We've learned their stuff. The final secret, find the connection. This is the shift in perspective, God bless you, in your attitude that really could unleash your ability to connect with people. Stop talking about what your business is and start describing how you solve their problem. I heard a man state this pretty succinctly once when he said, "I don't sell aspirin. I sell a headache going away." Stop talking about what your business is and start describing how you solve the problem. For magicians, what that means is recognizing that I'm not really in the business of selling magic tricks. What I deliver is an experience, which is fun and mysterious, hopefully, and it's unique. Hopefully this is unlike anything you've seen recently. More importantly, what I sell is peace of mind to people like Megan who book my shows. Because as often as not, she's frantic because she knows her whole company's watching her CEO is watching her, and it's my job to do what I can to make her an event planning hero. Now, I don't know that I get any credit today, but can we agree that Megan has done a heroic job today? If you've been listening closely to the person you're trying to connect with and you state your proposition in terms of a solution for them, how could they not want to hear more? Now, I want to bring this into a close by telling you about a type of magician that was very popular in the late 1800s, early 1900s. They called themselves spiritualists. And they went around the country putting on shows in which they claimed to be able, God bless you. Is there something about the centerpiece there? They claimed to be able to see visions of other people's thoughts, of future events, of objects that lie just beyond the range of the five ordinary senses. Now, the spiritualists refer to this strange gift as second sight. The spiritualists were magicians. They used the same methods we all do. But they didn't sell themselves that way. They knew they were tapping into something much more compelling on their audience's part. And today, I'd like to give you a sense of what you might have experienced if you had witnessed a spiritualist exhibition. Let's give it up for Cody. So your way of stating your business might take the form of a sentence that one of my magic mentors gave me when I was training in Las Vegas. It assures that I'm staying focused on my clients and not me. The sentence goes like this. You say, you know, blank, and here blank is a very succinct restatement of the client's issue. Well, I help with that. So you know there are a lot of adults in this world who are very artistic, but they've never produced a single work of art because they think they don't have the talent to sketch a stick figure. Well, I help with that. You know there are people running businesses who are great at numbers, but when they stand up to talk, they can't hardly get the words out, and they don't recognize it, and they need some coaching. Well, I help with that. In my case, when I talk to people like Megan, I never just storm in and say, hey, I do magic. I perform mysteries. I bet you would love to see me perform a mystery at you, right? something you would call security, right? What I say in some form or another is, you know how businesses and other organizations put on annual meetings and conferences all the time, and they're just dying to make this one this year special? Well, I can help with that. You've been thinking of an object, haven't you, Cody? I'd like you to form a vivid mental image of that object. So vivid, in fact, you can almost see it hanging out here in front of us. Have you done that? Cody, I'm going to hand you the pad this time and a marker. In a moment, when I say go, I want you to sketch that object. Don't start yet. I want you to sketch that object, but this time sketch it big so that they'll be able to see it when you show them. I'll be over here. You might want to take a few steps that way. Make sure I can't see the pad, can't see what you're drawing. My job, Cody, is to try to share this vision with you and see if we together can't come to something that seems like second sight. Do you understand? Go. Can you imagine a world in which we really could share each other's thoughts this way? I mean, think of all the misunderstandings that didn't need to happen. Think of all the suffering that could have been avoided. Cody, are you done? Okay. Close up your marker, please. And hold the pad so that we can't see it. Join me over here, please. Take the marker. Now let's think about this for a second. You could have thought of an object in the world, but if you had thought of, say, I don't know, say a hockey stick, and I drew like a line, or a crooked line, that would be a coincidence, but that wouldn't prove much, would it? You weren't thinking of a hockey stick, were you? Would you like to show us what you were thinking of? Yes, please. Oh, all right, that makes sense to me now. It's a football, isn't it? Can you see that back there, David? It's ovular, it's got some stitching on it. Can you see that? Cody? Ladies and gentlemen, there can be no doubt when we have experienced second sight. Find the connection. Have you had fun learning about magicians and the way we think? Well, you've been a lot of fun. I'll tell you what, I would love to have an opportunity to chat with every single one of you about how we could work together on some future event you're doing. I would love it if you flag me down after the show here and we can exchange information and talk about how we could bring a little more magic and mystery into your world. But I would like to close with, I guess, one final thought. I recognize that most of what you heard today was not rocket science. These were fairly accessible ideas. But the final thing that magicians understand is that very often it's the simplest ideas that have the most profound impact. Ideas like equality, justice, freedom. So, if you're looking for some magic words, you don't need abracadabra or hocus pocus. Why don't we start with the three words that make our pursuit of happiness and success possible in the first place? We, the people.
Thank you, Curtis. One more round of applause. Thank you, Curtis.